Hello, and welcome to another Tristan's Thoughts Destiny 2 discussion. Today, now that the raid has been released, I want to take some actual time and share my thoughts on Lightfall overall. I shared some early thoughts about Lightfall and its story, but wanted to wait to compile all of my thoughts in one video until the raid is out. Now, with the raid being out, I think it's time to go through and talk about what I think succeeded, what I think didn't work, and what I think could be done better in the future. If you enjoy this kind of content, a subscription is greatly appreciated. So let's start off with something I've already talked about, the story. For me personally, the story just didn't really work. I often found myself more confused with what was going on narrative than I usually am. Witch Queen seemed like a very concise story from beginning to end with a solid resolution and good build up for the next year of content. Lightfall just generally seemed to throw around some terms and everyone around you knows what's going on, but no one ever tells you what's going on, and it really didn't have a satisfying conclusion. I know they've said that this year of content is going to help alleviate that, but the issue for me is, if you played Witch Queen today, without the seasonal content, it would still be a solid experience. If you play Lightfall without the seasonal content that will come this year, assuming that clears things up about the Veil and the Witness, it's not going to be a full experience. You're not going to come out of it with the questions answered. I might know come Final Shape, but someone who comes back, a month before Final Shape comes out and plays Lightfall, they're going to be just as confused, and I think that's the main issue for me with the story. The characters I also just wasn't as invested in. Callus, although he's been a character in the story for a long time, I didn't find him all that interesting in this expansion. I generally thought he was a little bit underused, maybe. I would have liked to see us interact with him more, considering we've interacted with him a lot in the past, right? He specifically references your shadow title if you have it during the first mission, so there's history with Callus that I feel was just kind of swept under the rug. As for Nimbus and Rohan, they don't feel important, right? Like, Rohan's sacrifice was set up from the moment the story started. I think everyone basically expected he was going to sacrifice himself for some greater goal. But Nimbus, on the other hand, I don't dislike them as much as everyone else, but I do agree it's a little bit odd the way they approach things. I think specifically the final scene after you defeat Callus and they kind of fly up and they go, hey, the uglier they are, the bigger they fall, like, and Kaido's there, and it's really awkward. And I know these things happen in real life, but you would think, I don't know, just a little bit of forethought maybe. I don't know. I didn't love these two characters. I didn't really love Callus. The Witness didn't really do it for me still. So overall, the story for me was a bit of a miss. Now I understand some people might have really enjoyed the story. They really like Nimbus and Rohan and whatnot, but it didn't pan for me. So next, let's talk about the Legendary campaign. Overall, I thought it was quite good. Bungie has done a great job with the Legendary campaign in both the Witch Queen and in Lightfall. I thought the combat encounters were generally pretty good. Pacing felt good. Nothing felt too crazy. The only thing I might say is some of the encounters with 3 players, enemies felt a little bit too tanky. So you might need a little bit of rebalancing there for fire teams that are more than maybe 1 or 2. 3 enemies felt a little too beefy. But overall, really no complaints with the Legendary campaign. Next, let's talk about Neomuna. I think Neomuna is cool. I know a lot of people were disappointed it's not a bustling metropolis, but I never expected that. It clearly just can't be done, or the time investment to do it would take away from so much other stuff in the game. I generally don't get a ton of value from new destinations. I think you could have told Lightfall in the last city, and it would have been just as good. For me, destinations, so much time clearly goes into them, and they look and they feel so good, but then they're so criminally underused. I mean, Europa, criminally underused, until maybe, like, more recent seasonal content. But even at that, like, the underground, Braytech facilities in Europa are beautiful, but they're so underutilized. Savathun's Throne World, again, really, well thought out design, looks really cool, so underused. And I feel like Neomuna is going to be the same. I understand it's hard to tell a new story without a new destination, because that's just part of the Destiny expansion, right? It's just expected we get a new destination. I wonder if we need destinations per se. I know some people really like them, so it's a bit neutral for me. I could go either way. Let's talk about Strand. As some of you may know, I've made a few videos on Strand, specifically Strand Titan, and I'm gonna say, like in my videos, I never thought Strand was gonna be bad, and I think Strand is actually quite good. My issue comes from the Strand Titan Super still feels really uninspired and boring to me. I'm sorry. It doesn't matter how strong Strand is, I was still gonna find that super boring and uninteresting, right? And that's just me. Some people might love it. I think it's a little bit boring compared to the Warlock and Hunter Super, which I really enjoy. The Hunter Super is just, an average roaming super, but it comes with, grappling in third person. It has the AoE, it has the single target high damage attack that's ranged. It also has the reset on the grapple and the class abilities, so you can be grappling a lot more, you can be suspending targets a lot more. And the Titan Super is just attack fast. And then the issue with all this, fast attacking quote unquote is half the time melee registration you're missing the boss, or like, depending on the kind of boss, you're hitting immunes or you're not hitting them at all. It feels like the worst part. But overall, Strand, really fun. I enjoy Strand. I think opening up the fragments was a great idea. I don't really understand why they had the fragments locked for the longest time. Thankfully they did that. We didn't have to wait until after the raid was completed to get some of the better fragments. And I think the fragments really did round out the subclass as a whole. So I'm glad they did that. Next, let's talk about the raid. I am torn on the raid. I think it feels a little lacking mechanically for me. I don't think it being an easier raid is bad per se, but I would have liked to see a little bit more mechanic-wise. I think the third encounter actually is by far the coolest and probably the best encounter. The planet mechanic is really cool, and the third encounter feels like a raid. To me, there's just too much moving between encounters in the raid. There's like too many jumping puzzle kind of things. It just takes too long. And overall, I like it, but it most definitely will not be my favorite raid. Maybe they'll do some things to Nezarec, fix his AI, so you can't just stand on a platform and DPS him, but we'll see. Overall, raid was a bit neutral for me. What else? The armor update, the armor mod update. I am not the biggest fan of it at the moment. I think it's a little uninteresting, but we'll have to see how it's evolved in the future. So that's a little neutral for me. So, let's get right into it. Overall, what did I think of the expansion? Do I think it's a 5 out of 10? No, I don't think it's a 5 out of 10. I would put Lightfall at a solid 7. I think it was just okay. I don't think it's the worst expansion we've ever had. I think it brought some good things to the game. It did fumble some things, but at the end of the day, I think the day-to-day Destiny gameplay experience has been heightened with the addition of Strand and some other elements. So I take that as a plus. On a bad day, maybe I'd tell you it's a 6. Right now, I'm not feeling too fussed about it, so I'd probably give it a 7. For reference, I'd probably put Witch Queen at an 8 or a 9. A 10 for me would be an expansion that not only adds expansion content, but invests in the core game, right? And that's really what holds back the expansions for me. It's this lack of investment into the core game that I have a hard time with, because that's what as a long-term Destiny player, that's what I'm looking for from the game now, is an investment in the core playlist, the base of the game. Because the base of our game, the foundation, it's crumbling, it's rough. So you can build on it all you want, but if the foundation crumbles, everything goes with it. So let me know your thoughts. I did a little bit of a different video today. This was unscripted. I find sometimes when I do the scripted videos, people say I come off maybe a little monotone, a little dreary, a little uninteresting, so let me know if you like this a little bit better. If people tend to like this a little bit better, I'll continue this format. If not, I will go back to scripting my videos. Let me know what you thought of Lightfall in the comments below. Did you like it? Did you love it? Let me know. Like I said, I'm always for healthy discussion, right? Be respectful, be kind in the comments, and I will always, strike up a discussion with anyone who comments. Subscribe if you enjoy this kind of content, and remember, for each like this video gets, a capybara gets a big scritch.